San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of John and Jim. We're with you for the next 3 hours. Annie Heilbrunn from the UT, a great voice on the Padres. She will join us coming up at 5 p.m. JR Tolver, Aztec for Life, part of Aztec Link, NIL Collective. He will join us coming up at 4:30. I can't even start the show without really laughing because 24 hours ago, Jim, and we'll get into all of this with Soto, 24 hours ago, we start the show saying, you can't do what you're going to do. We're like, you can't do it. You cannot go out there against Emerson Hancock. I can't even say this guy's name. And you can't look lifeless in a game you just got to get. And I'm not saying you win last night, by the way, and they win the World Series. I mean, who knows what it even means, but it keeps you down that path. To play like they did yesterday, and then we'll get to Soto, but just to play like they did yesterday, Jim, it's all too predictable, even though it's the last thing in the world they could have done. And they did it.
So
again.
I actually went back and I listened to our opening segment.
Yeah.
After we did the wrap-up show last night and after the game, we predicted it to a T.
Right.
We said everything that would happen yesterday, and it happened. And then the quotes come out. And this happened after the wrap-up show. We didn't get to talk about it there. But I look at these quotes, and throughout this year when they've had bad losing streaks or, times where it seemed like it was over, I wasn't officially ready to say it's over. I said it feels like it's over.
Uh-oh.
It feels like it's over.
All right. Go on.
They gave me a reason to say it's over today. And that reason is they admit they quit. Juan Soto, the quotes that he had last night,
unbelievable,
were so shocking that it's hard not to say, yeah, it's over. When you admit you quit, how are you supposed to, in any good faith, still have hope as a fan? We cover this team every day, every year,
literally
every day, 365, 24/7. We cover the Padres, right? That's the number one.
Yep.
And how are we supposed to have hope? And how is the fan base supposed to have hope when you see quotes like this? You want to read these quotes?
Yeah,
these are
you've heard them,
amazing.
Let me just read them. And let me just get to the nitty gritty. We got to play as a team. Okay.
No, read the whole thing.
Okay. We've got to play as a team. We've got to go out there, grind every day, grind every at bat. It's been really inconsistent. Some days we do, some days we don't. We got to do it every day. Days like this series, we just give up. And by the way, days like this series is multiple days.
Plural.
Literally, he doubles down on this. Literally, we just give up instead of keep grinding, keep pushing. We've got to forget about yesterday and keep moving. This is Juan Soto postgame. Let me just chime in here for a second.
No, we did. Not only did we quit, we really quit.
And now I'm supposed to have faith, to your point, that they're going to all of a sudden, point this thing in the right direction. It's a captainless ship.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I just put down 5 or 6 things. There are literally 24 or more examples of a leadership issue and a clubhouse issue all year long. It was in April, I want to say, maybe early May. They're laughing in the dugout at Dodger Stadium, down 5 runs in the 9th inning, about to get swept with 2 outs in the 9th.
Strike one.
Okay. Then Bob Melvin in May calls out his team.
Strike 2.
Then Joe Musgrove repeatedly, probably May, July, August, has asked for urgency.
Foul ball.
He then went back to that and said, we need to show humility and put our egos aside and play for the name on the front of our jerseys, not the back.
Should have been strike 3, but the ump called it a ball.
And now Juan Soto literally said they're literally quitting.
Strike 3, you're out.
And there's so many more examples. And by the way, I mean, does anyone think that they haven't quit if you've been watching? That's the
yeah.
This kind of confirms our worst fears from even April, May, June.
At least there's honesty here. And at least now, as I'm sure the fans have felt and we have felt, we don't feel crazy.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do as a member of the media or a fan or whatever is say, yeah, they quit without any factual proof to it.
It's such a strong statement.
It is. And
we fought it in 2021 until we had to say it.
And now there's been a couple of years later, it's like we have to say they quit because, I mean, come on. Like 2019 and 2021, those teams, the longer the time goes on, we know they quit.
But now this team is saying it. So that's kind of given us the ability to do the same thing, right? I mean, this is literally one of their stars.
They literally quit, John.
They literally quit. Not even figuratively.
It's literally gave up. Giving up is quitting. And so when it's now in print, when you can factually see the words that are said by a player on that team, and not just any player, like Juan Soto is one of the best players in baseball. He's arguably at his best, the best player on this team. And he's had the most consistent year. I would maybe now argue that Ha-Seong Kim's the best Padre at this moment in time.
He's had a great year.
Which is amazing to say.
It's amazing.
With the players they have on it.
Yep.
But Juan Soto's the all-star. He's got the 900 plus OPS. Mm-hmm. Like he's the guy, right?
Yep.
He's a superstar. When you have a superstar player on your team admitting we gave up, that is all I need to know about the 2023 Padres going forward. There might be a stretch where they win 5 in a row. Hell, they might not. They might have a stretch where they get within a couple games of the wild card. But you know what? When you tell me something that kind of I feel like I already know, there's no way in hell when you if they do get close to a wild card spot here or have a little bit of a better stretch, or maybe they go and sweep Arizona this weekend. You admitted you quit. So you have that in your back pocket all the time. So you are very capable of quitting again.
That's a good point. Who's with Jim? And by the way, I tend to more agree than not agree. I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as saying it's fully over. But do you think it's fully over? Based on what Juan Soto has said and the series of events. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. 844-570-1360, or you can text us, of course. 70470. You can start your message with team. I hate to do what I'm about to do, but you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, you're going to do that?
I'm not. I mean, listen, all the writing, it's
factual. I know what you're going to say.
Not only is the writing on the wall, they're out of ink. They already wrote the story. The obituary is being written for us in season because you're getting quotes like this from the Musgroves and the Sotos.
They have that pen that has a little bit of ink left in it, and they're trying to get some ink out of it.
It's already out.
It's already out.
They are who they are, and that's what we said even at the trade deadline. And I get them investing at the deadline. I do. Mm-hmm. Even though I wasn't advising for it, I'm not going to rip them for doing it. I'm really not.
I understand it, and
I get it.
Yeah, it just...
With all that being said, the reason I'm not going to say hook, line, sinker, done, finished, they quit, I'm quitting on them, is I know what you just said. If they sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks, everyone's going to perk up. And everyone's going to say, wow, they passed the Diamondbacks in the standings. Mm-hmm. They're within a game of Miami. They're 2 games behind the Chicago Cubs. The reason I'm not going to do it is because I've always been like a math guy. And I look up and I look at the standings and they're 4 1/2 games out of a playoff spot. Now, it's becoming more and more unlikely by the day. American League, I'm done. We can talk about preseason week 1 and this big Steelers-Jags game or whatever is tonight. But because it's the National League, because it's the National League and because they're just a series away, I can't fully do it as of yet. What I do hate, by the way, here's the one other thing I hate. These quotes out of the clubhouse that are still coming, even after the players-only meeting, not just from Soto, and I'm with you. I give him credit for being honest, but he also led us somewhere that basically says they can't get out of it. Mm-hmm. But when I see quotes from like the Xander Bogaerts of the world, who I think's been good with the media, but when I see that, hey, we got enough talent in here to win.
And then he's basically saying the guy that was on the mound tonight, and he's done it multiple times this year, previously versus the Nationals. He's like, he's okay. It's okay. He's whatever. Xander, bro. You have 37 RBIs on the year. You have 2 RBIs in the last month, and you have 1 home run in the last month and a half.
Right. Don't be criticizing someone else.
You're the last person to criticize a pitcher for being just, okay.
He said last night, Xander Bogaerts, it's not like he had anything special. I mean,
you went 0 for, right? Or you maybe had 1 hit. Congratulations.
He did have a hit last night, but it's like you scored 1 run in the game. You scored 1 run in the series. San Diego scored 1 run in the series. They were, I think, 0 for 11 with men in scoring position in the series.
That quote would be okay if Xander's having a really good year.
Sure.
You're like, well, Xander's having a good year and he might have just had an off night. Xander, you are having the worst year of your career. You are arguably one of the worst offseason signings in all of baseball this year. To say those things about another guy making his major league debut, and he goes out there and shoves against you guys, 5 innings, 1 run, 2 hits. That to me is we're talking about Bush League with this team, right? Them calling the Dodgers Bush League. I think that's Bush League.
Well, what about the idea also, and I agree with you, I didn't like that quote, but what about this idea, these quotes that keep coming out, hey, we don't even need to add at the deadline. We have all the talent we need in here. And then even last night, we're capable of doing this. We know we're playing a lot of teams in front of us over the next month, but we have all the talent in the world. Like this idea, it's such a fallacy. We know this with professional sports. The idea that talent wins out. Like the idea that you can have this bad culture, you can have a bad clubhouse, you can have guys pulling in different directions, but we're just more talented than them. Do I think the New England Patriots have been really good because of the sheer level of talent, or because they all pull in the same direction routinely? And that's not, it goes on and on and on, right? I mean, I hate to do it, but I'll even say like the LA Dodgers. Do I think that they only do it because of talent, or do I think they do it because of talent and because of culture? But the Padres culture, this for me is top-down stuff, Jim. Mm-hmm. When one of your leaders like Juan Soto is like, I got nothing to say. We've quit. And it's almost like he's pleading for help. We've quit. Someone please point us in the right direction. And who nobody is there to save them.
And one thing you didn't put in your rundown of things that have happened this year. Remember when Nelson Cruz was quoted saying, amazing. Yeah, I'm just like asking across the clubhouse, hey, Jake, do you know what's wrong? And then Jake responds, nope, I have no clue. Hey, Xander, do you know what's wrong? No, I got nothing for you. Like that literally was a quote from this team saying they were like talking to each other in the clubhouse, asking each other what they think is wrong, and no one had an answer.
That was an amazing quote. We're like, and he was quoted literally in saying that. Kevin's like, I asked Nelson Cruz what the issue with the team was, and he literally shouted across the clubhouse and asked everyone if they knew what the issue was, and they all also didn't know what the issue was. I always believe this. I've heard it from like, and I think there's a lot to be learned from like San Diego State basketball and apply it to the Padres. I think there's a lot to be learned historically from San Diego State football over the last decade and apply it to the Padres. Player-led teams are better than coach-led teams. So you might say this is how Bob Melvin. He's the manager. He's the captain. But guys, he's got a $300 million payroll. He's got 30-year-olds in the prime of their career. You're telling me Melvin's got to get Machado going, or Machado's got to get the team going?
This team all year long, and I haven't said this year, they're all talk. I haven't said that one time this season. They're all talk. And the team meetings they've had multiple closed-door team meetings. This is not the first one. It'd be different if it was the first one. Then I maybe say, okay, we'll see how they respond. Well, guess how they've responded to the previous team meetings, closed-door meetings? Not well.
Right.
So why should I think that another closed-door meeting with Manny Machado probably screaming at people or whatever he's doing in there, right? Because he's the one that called it. Why am I supposed to think this is going to be any better? Like, why? Give me a reason, because you don't have any.
It's such a boy who cried wolf situation.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's like Bob Melvin calls out his team unapologetically, essentially, and then he went softer in tone over a period of like 6 weeks. None of it worked. He went hard at them. He went soft at them. Joe Musgrove has done it. Others have done it, and nothing has worked. And there's no reason to believe after 115 games anything is going to work. And at the end of the day, where do you point the blame? I want to just point it everywhere. It's all over this organization.
It's all over the organization. The autopsy on this team at the end of the year is going to be fascinating. And I the way that they're going right now, when we talked about it, and I said that if this happens, like Preller needs to be gone, is that the scapegoat's going to be Bob Melvin. And Preller's going to have an opportunity to hire his 4th different manager in his 9 years as GM.
Let's talk more about that coming up at 3:30. I want to hear from Ken Rosenthal. We have the sound, right? Ken Rosenthal, I could look at the tweet. I forget where this was, Jim. Let me find out. This was on a podcast, maybe? This was part of Foul Territory TV. Everyone knows Foul Territory TV.
I watch it all the time.
So it's not just Juan Soto saying, hey, we've literally quit. It's not just me and Jim saying, hey, they got a clubhouse culture issue. Listen to Ken Rosenthal on Foul Territory TV.
I've heard various things about that clubhouse throughout the season, up, down, this, that. I don't know exactly what's going on there and what has gone on there. I saw Juan Soto's quote from last night, basically saying they quit on the series. I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't exactly that way, but that's essentially what the gist was. They've had a number of team meetings, players only, and it just seems that for whatever reason, they cannot get it going. Now, I can say this with some confidence, having covered a lot of losing teams in my career. When a team is losing, when it's going through what the Padres are going through, underperforming, well below expectations, there are going to be some things going on in the clubhouse. So I'm confident there are some things going on in the clubhouse. I just don't know exactly what they are.
And these are things we've said, by the way, for months, that when you aren't good, that's when you really need good leadership.
Yeah. And we've heard things, and you can see it with your own two eyes, and it's been reported on multiple times. And when you have quotes from the leader of your team and Joe Musgrove talking about egos, like, come on, man, you put 2 and 2 together here. It's not that hard. You watch what's going on the field. You hear stuff like, remember the quote this year? I forget who it was from. Maybe it was Soto or Manny or I forget. We need to start helping each other. We need to start like talking to each other in the dugout.
Yep.
That's a bad sign. That's a red flag. That's a red flag for me when you got that quote coming out about how they need to start helping each other. Like, you should just want to help your teammate, but they don't, because this team is filled with a bunch of egos that don't mesh well together.
No, I mean, they don't. And there's really nothing else to be said about it. It's like they are who they are until they prove until they prove otherwise. And when you hear someone like Juan Soto say that they've quit or that they do quit, there's no reason to believe anything changes. And to your point, we'll talk more about it at 3:30. It's like, I mean, can you really try to go about this again in 2024 by we're going to bring in a new manager and we're going to bring back the core? And I mean, I don't even know how they're going to sell it. I really have no idea how they're going to sell it.
I don't either. The looking in the mirror after the end of the season has to be a tough conversation. It has to be. This whole AJ Preller is like the greatest thing ever happen to baseball can't be said.
What'd you say last night when we were in the wrap-up show and we eventually got around to talking about eyewash? How you were basically saying, hey, this team, well, basically this team's all talk.
That's what I said. Yeah, they're all talk. They have done it all year long as far as talking, starting from FanFest.
Right, we're going to win the World Series in 5 games.
Juan Soto, we don't care about the Dodgers, right? Also quotes like, hey, other pitchers are going to be scared of us. Manny Machado, just look at the back of our baseball cards. Also from Manny, you better jump on the bandwagon now, because when we start effing raking, you're going to be upset that you're not on with us. Just a bunch of different times this year where they have said things about how they're going to perform and they haven't done it yet. And in fact, it's been a disaster. So yeah, they're all talk. They are 100% all talk. They can't back it up. And when you have one of your best players on the team say you quit and you gave up, then why should the fans have any hope?
These 2 games in Seattle were literally like going through the motions games. And remember when Manny wore that t-shirt a couple years ago where he said, like, what did it say? No eyewash, maybe?
No eyewash, yeah.
But this basically was eyewash.
It was.
Is it not right that the idea that basically what they're doing is all for show, but they're not really doing it collectively or trying hard? You could not have watched these last 2 games and tell me that, they were doing everything in their power to win and that they were having good at bats and that they were pulling on the same rope, right? All these cliches. You can't look back on those 2 games and tell me that they gave it full effort. And you look at the quotes after this 20-minute players only meeting, and it's Soto and it's Bogarts and it's Cronenworth. And by the way, I don't know what Joe Musgrove is trying to get back for.
That's a great point. And I saw today in Kevin's article, the updated timeline is maybe mid-September.
No, you know what the upgraded timeline is?
2024.
Unless they win, unless they stop with all this, unless they look like a team that's capable, then Joe, take it easy, man.
Yeah, don't ruin your career, man.
Don't rush back to go be a part of this. Yeah. Rush back to be a part of something that turns around from this, but I don't know if that's going to happen at this point.
Every day that goes by, I cringe at the thought of Musgrove pitching again this season.
We have Darius Rucker tickets to give away today. That's incredible.
What?
All right, we're going to do that today. We have Darius Rucker tickets. We have Godsmack tickets. We have Dirks Bentley tickets.
Dude.
We'll give away Darius Rucker tickets this hour. So do not go anywhere. That's Gallagher Square, August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. JR Tolver, the Aztec for Life. Great receiver on the Mesa. Now part of an NIL collective. He'll join us at 4:30. Annie Heilbrunn on this mess at 5 p.m. On the other side, is AJ Preller about to do something that is essentially unprecedented in baseball history? We'll explain next. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, Darius Rucker tickets. We're going to give those away coming up this hour. Be listening for your chance to win those tickets. That's going to be Gallagher Square, Petco Park, August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Again, JR Tolver will join us at 4:30. Annie Heilbrunn at 5 p.m. Dennis Lynn does really good work, obviously, at The Athletic. We've said that for years and years and years. And he wrote today in his mailbag. You need to turn your mic on for it to work.
I know, John.
Okay. He wrote today in his mailbag when asked about Bob Melvin and will he be back? And then he started talking about, well, the optics of not having Melvin return are not good. Like, we can't pretend as if at the end of the year, if Melvin isn't back, that Melvin is the reason why they are where they are, right? I mean, AJ Preller's had plenty of chances with managers. First time, last time, young, old, experienced, inexperienced. And he basically goes on to say that, I mean, I don't know if he did the deep dive on 150 years of baseball and general managers, but essentially that hiring a fourth manager, he writes, would be relatively unprecedented. Now, it's one thing, I guess, if you're Brian Cashman and you've got a handful of rings over your 20 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many managers he's hired, to be honest with you, in New York.
Well, you got
obviously Torrey to start.
Torrey.
There's been a number. In recent years.
Girardi.
Yeah, there's been a number.
Boone.
But he's got rings. Now he has.
Am I missing anybody?
There's got to be one more in there, right?
I know what the point is.
Yeah.
Like it's Torrey, Girardi, and Boone, right?
Yeah, it's just Torrey, Girardi, Boone. Before that, 1995. 4 Yankees managers goes back to 1995. 4 Padres managers goes back to 2015 if they make a switch.
Well, who was the other manager?
Well, it was Showalter from 92 to 95.
Okay.
Then Torrey for 11 years. Then Girardi for 10 years. Then Boone for 6 years.
No, Preller should not be able. He should not be given a chance to hire another manager, but he will. And that's unfortunate because he doesn't deserve that right. He doesn't deserve to hire another manager. You tried with the inexperienced guy that was super analytical and your buddy, and it blew up in your face. You tried with not an old-time manager, but a veteran manager who has won in a lot of places. He's a 3-time manager of the year. He's been to NLCSs and ALCSs. He's won division titles. That so far this year, I mean, last year it worked, obviously, but this year, if you fire him, it didn't work. You tried. You had Andy Green be the placeholder for what, hey, we're never going to win. We just need someone to literally write down the lineup card. Andy Green, go take it.
Right. Well, he had Bud Black, obviously.
These are the managers, John, and it's not just 4, by the way. It's Bud Black, it's Pat Murphy, it's Dave Roberts for a game, it's Andy Green,
yeah, but
it's Chase Tingler,
it's full-time managers.
It's Bob Melvin,
full-time managers.
But those are the when you look at the managers they just said for Cashman, okay?
Yeah, there's
never been a time where he's fired a manager in season and had a interim manager take over for the rest of the year.
You want to know why?
Because
because you can't compare. Because what we're doing here,
I know we are.
We're comparing the New York Yankees to the San Diego Padres. And unfortunately, the Padres organization, as we know, has not been run as efficiently and as well as the Yankees. And by the way, the Yankees haven't been perfect here in recent history either. I think you got to ask yourself this question. Are they going to be able to upgrade? I mean, what does upgrade even look like? Yeah. And who wants to work?
Yeah.
Who wants the job? So you want to go work for AJ Preller, who is constantly reshuffling coaching staffs, is constantly hiring and firing managers. It's like the one constant with the Padres is change. I sound like what movie is that? That's the baseball movie, Field of Dreams. Yeah. Right? The one constant is change, right, Brent? I'm like a Mr. Movie quote. So like with the Padres, like the constant with AJ Preller, it's like you're always like your seat's always warm. There's always the possibility that change could be coming. And if they make a change here, you think this is all of a sudden some great job? Everyone wants to work with this clubhouse with all these type A personalities?
You're not getting the Bochy because he's with Texas. And guess what? He's thriving there. No surprise. I don't know if he would have succeeded here, to be honest with you. Maybe for a year, because that's what happened with Bob Melvin. It worked for a year. And I blame everybody, including Bob Melvin. But as far as who gets the most blame, there is no way in hell I'm putting the most blame on Bob Melvin. This is not even close to a Jace Tingler situation. Jace Tingler was so far over his head that it needed to be done. Bob Melvin is the complete opposite of that. And if Preller, and I said this, if Preller goes to Seidler, and is like, we need to make a change at manager, then Peter Sides should turn around and go, okay, well, you're fired because you don't deserve another chance to get another manager here. If you can't make it work with Bob Melvin, why the hell do you think that I should believe it's going to work with anybody else?
Do you remember what they said during Melvin's introductory press conference that we were at and somehow you didn't ruin with the back of your head?
When we were allowed there?
When we were there, yes. What they said essentially was, we have acquired the finest manager in the game. That was the takeaway. He is among the game's preeminent managers that is respected by all, whether it's executives, coaches, managers, players. You will not find someone to say a negative thing about his professional abilities, and that's fair. And now here we are, less than 300 games in to his managerial career in San Diego, and everyone wants him out. By the way, a lot of people in the fan base want him out.
I don't want him out,
dude. But you agree?
I don't want him out, but for the betterment of Bob Melvin, it's probably best if he goes.
Agree. But do you agree that? I mean, the thing is, if they do get rid of him, I think the fan base will be somewhat receptive. You see a lot of it. Bob Melvin trends on Twitter a lot. The way Manny Machado used to trend on Twitter and still does. Bob Melvin wasn't trending on Twitter a year ago. He's trending on Twitter in 2023.
Okay, well,
because everything's under the and I'm with you.
No,
I'm 100% with you. But I guess my point is, if first of all, you have to make a decision on Melvin. He will not enter a final year without an extension.
No,
and then you got to ask yourself, like, what are you going to do? How do you sell whatever you do? Hey, we've hired
so-and-so. And who will be better as far as credentials go and respect around the game than Bob Melvin?
Right.
And also reported from Dennis Lynn is that these players still really respect Bob Melvin. 2019, they gave up. They just said, Jace Tingler, okay, whatever. They gave up on Tingler.
No, that was 2021.
2021, sorry.
Yeah.
2021, my bad. But like from all accounts, it feels like people, the players still at least respect Bob. It's just that they have completely failed him for going out there and quitting. Like, I can use that term now because it's been said. So they have gone out there and they have rewarded Bob Melvin with quitting on him. They have quit on him. They have quit on this fan base. They have quit on this ownership. That is pretty factual because of what Juan Soto said last night.
He literally said the idea of quitting on this fan base is literally inexplicable. To the Padres fans this year have been so ridiculously loyal.
Amazing.
There has not been a more loyal fan base. I'm not just saying that. I'm not. Because if the same thing was going on right now in Philadelphia,
nobody shows up,
or Los Angeles, and if they are showing up, they're booing profusely. They're not literally selling out the games.
No.
The Padres, I want to say, have sold out 26 consecutive games. The fans have been incredibly loyal. And then I hear the quote, and I think it may be somewhat out of context, or he didn't mean it the way
Soto?
No, the Cronenworth thing. The Cronenworth thing was like,
the fans,
we had that comeback the other night against the Dodgers.
Right.
We could really hear you in our corner, and we need more of that moving forward. I'm like, whoa. The fans have been so incredibly loyal. You're down 4-0 in the ninth inning, and they're still there.
Yeah.
You're down 13-5 on Monday afternoon to the Dodgers in the eighth inning. It's a sunny day. Everyone's wearing straw caps, and they're all sitting there.
Yeah.
It's 13-5 in the ninth inning, and everyone is there, and everyone's hoping. Everyone wants to see this team succeed. They're all pulling in the same direction, but you guys don't care, and you've quit.
Yeah. And by the way, we were watching the Phillies game last night when they threw a no-hitter.
Yeah.
Guy they acquired at the deadline, making a second start. That stadium was not full, and the Phillies are I think the 4 seed right now.
Look at Seattle's record. They're 10 over. It's not full. They have nice crowds. Nice crowd.
The entire lower bowl was full, but
upstairs is empty.
Upstairs empty. That's the difference here. Padres have the stadium full every single night.
The Diamondbacks still have a better record than the Padres. You know how many people are going to be there tomorrow night? Unless it's
12,000.
Unless
15,000.
Whoever was, World Series bobblehead night with Kurt Schilling, you know what I mean? And Randy Johnson.
Yeah. Luis Gonzalez.
There'll be no one there.
No, there won't be.
But in San Diego, when they come back home next weekend to take on whomever, or next week,
the Baltimore Orioles.
I don't know if they'll be sold out, but it's going to be close to sold out.
It's so disheartening, man. It is so disheartening because that quote last night from Soto officially put me over the edge. Because when you see something, you might say, okay, they are doing this, but I don't have anything like to factually back it up. So I'm hoping that what I see is not true. And then it's backed up by actual truth. And you're like, oh, wow, they really did quit. What I saw and what I thought about this team is proven right, which is embarrassing for them.
Is there any hope from here or not? 844-570-1360. You can text us 70470. Start your message with team. Also on the other side, we will give away a pair of tickets to see Darius Rucker at Gallagher Square. That's at Petco Park on August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Is there any hope in 2023, or is it all lost after last night? Plus, Annie Heilbrunn at 5 p.m., JR Tolver, the Aztec for Life at 4:30. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, we've got Darius Rucker tickets to give away. We'll do that at some point in the next 10 minutes. JR Tolver, Aztec for Life, part of San Diego State football broadcasts. Also, Aztec Link, the NIL collective at San Diego State. He will join us coming up at 4:30. And then Annie Heilbrunn from the UT. She'll be on the show at 5 p.m. We're going to hear from Manny Machado in a moment, Jim. I want to react to this off the text line, 760, because we've seen this a lot this year, and it keeps creeping in more, this sentiment. The team's gotten fat, so to speak. He says a fat pig isn't hungry. Padres are all fat with big undeserved contracts. AJ and Seidler give out contracts like Oprah does. What, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car type thing. You know what? Well, I understand that sentiment that, hey, they're not playing well, and I'm going to look towards the contracts and the length as a reason why they're playing like that. To me, that's a little too simple. I don't think it's as simple as saying, hey, Xander got paid, he's good. He's a two-time champion. I don't think Soto, well, he hasn't gotten paid as of yet. But Machado, he got his $350 and he's good.
Mm-hmm.
Tatis got his $340 and he's good. I mean, I don't think it's I really don't think it's as simple as that.
I don't think it's that either. I think I wouldn't put that even in my top 5 of reasons why.
Right.
Honestly,
I'm with you.
I would say the big egos in the room not meshing well together, along with the mindset of we have so much talent on this team, we can just go out there and win a bunch of games. We don't have to put in the work. Not saying they don't work, because these guys work every day. What I mean is like in game, pulling for one another, doing the little things to get the job done, focusing every at bat. We heard that this year as well. They're not focusing every at bat, and they're not grinding, right? That's more of a reason why they are where they are than I think we just got paid. I don't believe that at all. I really don't, because these guys, even though they're not a good baseball team, they all love the game of baseball. Like I truly believe that they're playing baseball because they love it, not just because of the money.
Right. And listen, are they going through the motions at times? Well, yeah, that's now confirmed by a quote like the one we saw last night from Juan Soto. But with that being said, there's no way this is what they want. Now, maybe they haven't put the work in to be in a spot better than this.
Right.
But there's no way this is the preference. Hey, let's just get paid. And if we go 80 and 82, we go 80 and 82. I mean, you got world champions. I mean, Xander Bogaerts is a 2-time world champion on this team. He's in the prime of his career. He didn't come here just to get paid. I'm sorry.
Juan Soto is a world champion. When Juan Soto, who has been on a World Series team, says the things that he said like that, like last night, that carries weight for me. Because he knows what a World Series championship team looks like. Xander knows what a World Championship team looks like, what it feels like, what the clubhouse should be, the dynamics, the everything. When you get quotes like that from guys that have won championships, and not just been on teams that won championships, but like were the big reasons why those teams won championships.
Specifically Soto.
And Bogaerts. Bogaerts, it was the captain of the Red Sox.
Yeah, and did it multiple times.
He might not have been the best player, but he was the captain.
He was a very good player. Okay, we want to hear from Manny Machado. Do you know how long that is, Brent, by the way?
About 2 minutes.
It's about 2 minutes. All right, let's sneak in a call then, because we've got Ryan on the line. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. Ryan, you're on with John and Jim, and thanks for calling in.
Thanks, guys. I think the problem, we need to bring in the fences. We have to. We got Xander Bogaerts. It was
Ryan.
The Boston. What?
No, let me hear. I want to hear I want to hear it.
All right, continue. Sorry, buddy.
The Red Sox have the second easiest park to hit home runs and batting average, and Petco Park is the second worst.
Yeah, you want to know why? And thanks for the call. I'll tell you why. Because one of them sits on the Pacific Ocean where marine layer sits for half the year. Okay. One of them is always going to be a bad hitter's yard. The other is 300 feet to right and 300 feet to left. It's not going to happen here. They're not building a brown monster and moving right field to 296.
The moving in of the fences is not a problem.
It's not like has it been done 2 or 3 times in 20 years. And by the way, I'm not saying it's a bad idea in general, but it doesn't fix it. If the fences were 9 feet in all around, they'd be 55 and 60.
They would need to bring the fences into like the middle infield, because Xander Bogaerts has led the league in ground out double plays.
Right. So you want the Williamsport dimensions?
Yeah, maybe it would help Bogaerts if they did that.
I mean, there's no solution. I mean,
They're not
then
gonna-
move the stadium to Mission Valley.
Just pick up Petco
Right?
and put it somewhere else.
I mean,
that's the reason.
No, I mean, Fenway is always going to be Fenway, and Petco is always going to be on the Pacific Ocean. And it is going to be what it's going to. It's never going to be the best hitter's yard. It will never, ever, ever be the best hitter's yard in baseball. Let's hear from Manny Machado. This is after a players-only meeting last night. Manny Machado.
Yeah, you threw the ball well. I mean, you can't knock that. So couldn't get that big hit.
Unacceptable. You guys have the big names. You guys have the track records, and he has AA. Like, I assume that's why you say it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, made some good pitches. We just couldn't capitalize on it. But yeah, I mean, we're way better than that than what we did today.
Clearly, you guys were not happy with it. What needs to change?
Win more games. Simple.
When you've lost as many close games like this, is there any
Close 6-1.
close in the eighth inning? I mean,
Yeah.
but is there a sense that they when they go against you late, like they have, that one compounds into the other, and how do you get that headed in the right direction?
I wish I knew the answer to that. Honestly, just don't really even know. I mean, I think ultimately how I see it is baseball simple. You got to score more than them. You got to hit the ball better, and they got that big hit. We have one of our best relievers in the game. Been lights out all year, and he made one pitch, one mistake, and the guy hit a homer. Sometimes you got to tip your cap, when they make the good pitches and they do their jobs. So unfortunately, do we want to be in this position? Hell no, but it is what it is.
You don't want to be in this position. I imagine you still feel like there's a chance for you guys to
Oh,
get
yeah,
where you're trying to
absolutely.
get to. How important are
Absolutely.
these games coming up against the
I
teams?
mean, every game. I don't think we got Arizona coming up now. We need to win. I mean, it don't matter who it is. We got to play good baseball. The baseball we played. Obviously, the last 2 days we haven't. We got to go out there and turn the page tonight and enjoy this off day tomorrow and come ready to play. Because then we know they're going to bring it. So we got to go out there and hopefully pull some strings together. Win them more than a couple games in a row. We got to get hot. But if any team can do it, I think this is the team in here.
I know you don't have answers for us, but when you guys close the door for 15 minutes, do you have answers in here?
We always have answers. I mean, whenever you talk amongst each other, we figure things out, and ultimately, it's all up to us. 26 guys that are in here is what we believe in, and it'll take all 26 of us to get to where we want to get to, and I think ultimately everyone in here has confidence in each other. We've been pulling the same rope, and we just got to play better baseball.
Yeah, I don't buy any of it.
I mean, neither.
I mean,
Again, it's all talk.
Yeah.
It's all talk. Manny, you can't tell me you've been pulling on the same rope because
Juan Soto just said 5 seconds earlier that you're not.
Yeah, you exactly said you quit. We heard again in there, don't have any answers. I don't know what to tell you. And we get the classic, it's baseball, got to score more runs than them. It's empty words to me until it actually turns around. And they've said these pretty much the same thing. Like, I know Marty talked about today that you could take some of these quotes and literally say,
sprinkle them in over the course of the year.
right. Like, oh, if you told me this quote was from 3 weeks ago, I'd believe you. But it's the same thing over and over and over again. And that from Manny right there doesn't give me much hope at all.
Maybe it changes this weekend in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, call right now if you want a pair of tickets to see Darius Rucker at Gallagher Square on August 25th. 844-570-1360, caller 6. They are yours. A pair of tickets to see Darius Rucker at Gallagher Square August 25th. 844-570-1360, caller 6. They're yours. More info at Ticketmaster.com. The Wrap is next. JR Tolver at 4:30. Annie Heilbrunn at 5. Hour 2, John and Jim next. All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of John and Jim. JR Tolver, Aztec for life. Great receiver on the Mesa. Now volunteering, the head volunteer for Aztec Link and NIL Collective. Will join us coming up at 4:30. Annie Heilbrunn on the Padres from the UT. She will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Over the next 2 hours, we'll give away tickets to see Dierks Bentley and also Godsmack. So be listening for your chance to win those tickets. Before we get to the wrap, Jim, you mentioned the big Patriots-Texans game. Mac Jones has been ruled out. I just hope everyone is sitting right now that's listening to my voice. Mac Jones will not play tonight. Patriots-Texans tonight at 4. In fact, that game's about to get underway. So hopefully you're still with us and haven't switched over to the big Pats-Texans game.
How do you think the Texans secondary will fare in this game with new head coach DeMeco Ryan?
Well, now that it's not against Mac Jones, I think they're going to fare a lot better than they would have.
Who is starting for the Patriots tonight? I'll give you $1 million if you can guess.
I have no idea.
Okay, well, I don't know either.
Brian Hoyer.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah,
Rich's buddy. They always sign him.
Brian Hoyer.
He's been there forever.
Yeah.
Sure. Probably. There you go.
It's definitely Brian Hoyer.
Okay.
We are going to get to your text, by the way, 70470. You can start it with team. This is day 3 for us on YouTube. What's going on, YouTube? Hey, guys.
What's up, guys?
Find us, search for us, John and Jim 760 at YouTube, or go to John and Jim on Twitter, JONANDJIM. You'll find a direct link to our brand new YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're just going to broadcast this thing everywhere. I just put it on Twitter, YouTube, whatever I can put it. It will be broadcast for you all to watch and listen. So there you go.
Thank you, guys. If you are wherever you're with us, however you find us, we appreciate
iHeartRadio
you.
app, San Diego Sports 760 on your car on the radio, YouTube, podcasts. We have a million ways to listen to us.
If you ever listen to us on a podcast, by the way, please leave a review as well. iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeart. I don't even know if you can leave a review on iHeart. Even if you can't, figure out a way to do it.
Yeah,
please make
call
it
up
positive.
iHeart corporate and be like, I want to leave a review
for John.
I need you to create this algorithm for me to do that.
All right, let's get to this.
Man, this brings me back to like high school days.
It was like college for me, but I played it because it's game over.
Oh yes.
Oh, game over.
And if you're watching on YouTube, it's we can't play songs on YouTube, so sorry about that.
It's Little Flip. You can Google
Little Flip.
All right, guys, are you gonna watch any preseason NFL football this weekend?
Yeah, because the Niners play. They play the Raiders.
Oh, do they? When's that?
Sunday.
What's that on?
Brock Purdy versus Jimmy G.
If either of them play,
they won't play. I don't think he's going to play, actually. I think it's going to be Trey Lance starting for the Niners. I don't think Jimmy G is going to start for the Raiders either, but they're doing like a joint practice this week. So, yeah, I'll watch that. I watched the first like 10 minutes of the game.
Did you hear this? And I know you did. Marty Caswell retweeted it, that if the Niners had made the Super Bowl last year, and spoiler alert, they didn't.
Thanks, John.
They had like 0 first downs after Brock Purdy got hurt.
They had Chris McCaffrey playing quarterback.
I taped it. You just ruined it.
Right, I know.
I didn't watch
They would have signed Phillip Rivers for the Super Bowl.
Dude.
But that's an alternate universe because they literally didn't move the ball after the first quarter. So that's a completely alternate universe. That would have taken a lot to win that game on the road. If you he literally went to watch Star Wars like episode 7 in the second half.
Was Avatar.
I went to go see Avatar in the second half.
Of course you did. NFC Championship.
But why should I watch when they've lost both of their quarterbacks?
Because Phillip Rivers was about to save the season if they made the Super Bowl.
They were down 21-3.
I know.
Over, dude.
They were just one big play away.
Are you watching any football this weekend?
If we put it on the studio, I'm not opposed to it tonight, to be honest.
See, it's like we're Padres, right?
Yeah, and a lot of Aztecs.
There's a lot Aztecs. Like it's preseason football. Call us when the regular season starts.
Yeah, I mean, I do love football, but preseason and that it's just weird. And the way it's trended, it used to be that starters would play even in that first preseason game, a series or 2 or 3. And now Mac Jones doesn't play.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not going to miss it if I don't see it, I guess, this weekend. Next question.
Do you think San Diego State's offense will be improved this season?
I think it will. But I have more like I hope it will than I firmly believe that it will. Like I hope it will. They're changing a lot on the offensive side of the ball. The one constant though is Jalen Maiden, so that is good. And I am so curious to see what the offense looks like under Ryan Lindley? Like, is it going to be how much of a change is the offense going to have for it with Ryan Lindley as the offensive coordinator?
I am so curious to your point, and I'm getting excited for it. It's 2 weeks out. I was thinking about it the last couple of days. I'm like, you know what? With a new offensive coordinator, we really have no idea. We really have no idea what it's going to look like. I'm very encouraged by the possibilities. Now, I don't know if it's a finished product in 2023 or not under Ryan Lindley. First year offensive coordinator, a lot of changes at receiver, Jesse Matthews, Tyrell Shavers. They will be improved. I really believe they're going to be improved. Now, I don't know the level of improvement we're going to see, but I really do believe they're going to be improved. You know, the defense is going to be good. If the offense is able to improve, I think a lot of people are sleeping on San Diego State. I think it's a tough schedule. I think they can put together a good year with improvement on offense. What do you have, Brent?
I think even if they just shore up some of the little stuff, because look how many touchdowns got taken away last year due to like holding penalties and offensive line penalties, that if they just would have cleaned that up, you know, they could have changed some of the games that they played in. So I think they'll be better. You know, it's like Jim said yesterday. Are they going to go all of a sudden from last year to the greatest show on turf? No.
Yeah, probably not.
But, you know, I think it's going to be it'll be definite
Hey,
improvement.
but if Kurt Maddox lets us call some defensive plays, watch out, Ryan.
Yeah, remember.
Yeah.
It's on
Yeah.
tape, coach.
Yeah, we're
down.
going to shut that offense down.
We're down to do that. Next question.
All blitz.
Yeah.
The whole game. Send everyone.
Bring the house.
Yeah.
Secondary too.
Bring
First
the house.
play of the season.
And then he's just like, bring the house. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
What house?
Hey guys, should Joe Musgrove pitch again this season?
I'm going to say at this time, no. Because if you have what's being reported, a return date of potentially mid-September.
Yeah. So what's that? 3 starts?
Exactly. And if you are out of it by mid-September, which is very plausible, why is he going to come back? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, he does not pitch again this year. And that's unfortunate, because you hope that him going out there and risking his health to try to help this team doesn't hurt him for the long term, because that's exactly what this team and organization doesn't need, is Musgrove going out this year and literally pitching to the point where it hurts his career.
Remember I said like the worst case scenario was the Padres going like 8-6 into the trade deadline and believing they were something they weren't, which is what happened, right? Their one big sweep of the year was heading into the trade deadline, and now look at it on the other side. Okay, they made minor upgrades. They didn't sell the farm. Another huge mistake would be pitching Joe Musgrove for 3 starts when you're out of it.
Agreed.
I mean, that would be a more egregious mistake. If there are 15 games left and you're 4+ games out, what are you chasing down? You've been 4+ games out the entire year. All of a sudden, you're going to make it up in the final 15 games. I know mathematically you can. I would just be very cautious. By the way, if you return September 15th, you think you're getting 100 pitches out of him? No. You're getting 65, and then you're getting 80, and then you're getting 90. We won't see full strength Joe Musgrove, even if he does return this year. I wouldn't pitch him.
No, I wouldn't either. It feels kind of, I mean, when that was reported last Friday before the game 1 of the Dodgers series, it did feel like the air in the balloon was officially popped. Like,
remember,
you
like
lose Joe, that is a massive blow.
The previous off day, today's an off day, all hell is broken loose related to the Padres. The previous off day, we're like, that's pretty good. Teams played well. They've won 5 of 6.
We were like,
they have no injuries.
This is the calmest off day
great.
this team has experienced all year, and then all hell
Yeah, they're like
hit the fan.
They're like 3 games out. We're like, this is great. This team's well positioned.
Well positioned.
Not as much anymore. Next question.
Have the Padres quit on the season?
Yeah, they have. It's proven fact now by Juan Soto. So there you go. They quit.
I don't know. Even though he said literally, I don't know if I take him literally. Okay.
So how would you take it?
I take it as he's frustrated. He's being honest, and they don't always pull in the same direction, which is a huge problem, and that they haven't played to the best of their abilities, but they're not literally mailing it in for the next 47 games based on that. That's how I would take it.
I agree, but the time is pretty much run out.
It's running out, man.
It's running out. The writing's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like people don't want to fully accept it yet because of what the expectations were for the season. And it's hard to even believe that this team would potentially finish under 500 and miss out in the postseason. Like that to me is so it's such an unfathomable thing to think that this team at the beginning of the year thinking like, hey, if I told you, John, and no one would have, everyone would call me a troll.
This is like the start of a 30 for 30. What if I told you?
What if I told you
23 Padres would win 74 games?
If I came on the radio and I was like, dude, John, this team is not it. The ego's there. They have in the clubhouse. They're going to miss the postseason. You'd be like,
I'd be like, you're an idiot.
You're just trying to get clicks or whatever the case may be. Like that's why it's hard, I think, for people to like fully grasp what Juan Soto said. But just watch the games, guys. You watch the games, and I know a lot of people feel this way, if not, majority, is that this team has just gone through the motions way too many times and given up. And I'm with you. I don't think that the remaining 47 games, they're just going to roll over and die here and just completely quit, and they're not going to win a single game the remainder of the season.
No, they will win another game.
But when the going gets tough, they crumble. They lack that next level. They don't compete when you need to grind and compete. And that's why it's like, okay, this is done. Juan confirmed it. Pack her up.
What'll be interesting is, 2019 Andy Green, a literal quit scenario we talked about earlier. If you looked at their last 30 games, it was awful.
But no one said it, though.
We did.
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
Is like
nobody said it publicly.
We said it.
Yeah.
But no one on that team came out and said, we quit.
Okay, but they did quit, or you saw the way they played. It was as poor as you could play, to the point that Andy Green was literally fired, even though the season was over. Then you had the Jace Tingler situation in August, September 2021, where it all went downhill, and we'd have to look it up. Whatever they closed in their final 40 games, it was awful, right? 10-30. Now, remember, Bob Melvin was asked a couple of weeks ago when things were looking pretty dire, is this team going to quit? He was essentially asked, he said, that will not happen. Now,
they just did.
Now, here's the thing, though. I mean, if you look at who they've been since the trade deadline or even since the All-Star break, they're a 500 team, right? 11-10, 10-10, 11-11, something like that. Now, if the wheels literally do fall off your final 47 games, they go something like 13-34.
Oh, shoot.
But again, that's so much more of it. That's nothing for me. Would I put on Melvin there? And it would be all on the clubhouse. And all on AJ Preller allowing this to happen again. Like, this happened in 2019. This happened in 2021. Could it possibly happen again in 2023? And like, if it does, like, you got to put a lot of that on Preller, and you got to put a lot of that on the players. And I'm putting none of it on Bob Melvin, because there's a track record of this happening under everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked much about Preller today, but oh boy, is a reckoning coming for him potentially from the media and fans. Not from Seidler, though. I mean, Seidler thinks he's the greatest. He's literally excellence. That's what AJ Preller is to Peter Seidler.
Right.
And the only opinion that matters is Peter Seidler's opinion. But the heat will be on Preller for sure after this year. Well, no doubt about it. I think regardless of what happens, John, the heat's got to be on, because if they happen to somehow back into the postseason, how can you go into an offseason saying that everything is fine when all of this stuff has happened? I mean, literally, even if they win the World Series, there has to be something looked at here of like, why for 120 plus games, I know it's 115, but like, why for 100 and whatever games this year, this team lacked fight, they quit, they gave up, they had issues in the clubhouse. There were quotes about people needing to put their egos to the side, play for the name on the front, not the name on the back. How is that just going to be viewed okay if they happen to back into the postseason?
Well, a lot of it you said right. You're dead wrong. If they win the World Series, will it at all be remembered like that? The Braves were 52-55. I've never heard one person talk about the 2021 Braves and the disappointment of the first 110 games. Not one person.
Well, I do think even if they win the World Series, everything will be happy-go-lucky. There will be a parade, obviously, duh. But there still needs to be like reflection. There needs to be things like, hey, it was great we won, but we can't have the first half and the first 120 games happen.
Dude, you'll be reflecting by doing keg stands. I mean, that's the one example where none of this matters. A city that's never won a championship, I don't care how you win.
Fine.
There'll be no
World
criticism.
Series. Right.
You're going to come on the air the next week and be like, yeah, I wish they would have showed what they showed us the last month. No, they won the World Series.
Okay. All right.
But,
you got me.
Other than that, I mean, maybe if they get to the World Series, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, man. But your point's valid. Here's the thing: they're not gonna be in the World Series in all likelihood. They're not gonna win the World Series in all likelihood. I hate to be the spoiler alert guy. That's just they're 5 games under 500, and some of their stars are saying literally they've quit. Let's go to the phones. 844-570-1360. Larry, you're on with John and Jim, and thanks for calling in.
Hi, good afternoon, fellas.
What's up, man?
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to tell you, after last night's game, I called the Padres San Quit Diego. That was before Soto even came forth. I recognized they have been quitting all year. And then I kind of was thinking about it. This isn't the first time this time of year that the Padres have been quitters. Look at what the one constant aside from the GM is. Machado. I'm sorry. It's just Machado's attitude carries this club into negativity, and I just don't know where else to go with that. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Thank you, Larry.
I'll respond to Larry with this.
Okay.
He said it, not me.
Yeah. No, and by the way, I mean, that's not something like you hear it, you see it on social. We've talked about Manny before.
He's the constant that no one wants to really
Go
look
underneath the hood and
at.
see what's
because 2019, you're going on 3 of the 5 years and a half 2020 season. Who knows what would have happened if it was a full year? They lost Lamet and Clevenger.
Yep.
And then no other pitching. But 3 of the 4 full seasons, it's been a disaster in that clubhouse. And it's been one manager after another and potentially another, and drama-filled seasons.
It has.
And who's a constant? Larry's not wrong.
It has, but the opposite side of the coin with Manny, and I'm not disagreeing. I think Manny may be as accountable as they come in there. He may be. I don't fully know.
I'm not going to say for sure it is him, but it would be interesting if you, like you said, look under that hood of
who's responsible.
What's going on here?
But let me say this, that yes, I think it's fair. The opposite side of the coin is 2022 was so good that he nearly won the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
2021, while they collapsed, he was good. And the whole blow up in the dugout thing at the time was seen as Manny Machado as a leader of a team that's gone sideways, and he didn't pitch. And that was all pitching. Let's be honest. If you watch the end of 2021, which we did, it was all pitching. 2020, you're right. Even if the season would have gone sideways, it wouldn't have been because of Manny. You had a 950 OPS for 60 games. So yeah, there are 2 sides. One of the sides is absolutely that, hey, common theme is collapses and Manny Machado's been here. I would just say that even part of the collapse is 2021, I can't put on Machado. Maybe we could put 2023 there, and we can absolutely do 2019. 2021, I think that's probably a bridge too far to put that thing on Machado.
And also 2019, that team didn't have near enough talent to compensate for everything. It just, that team was talent-wise not great.
And he admitted to it actually the next spring training or even the next year, you know what? I didn't perform the way I need to.
Mm-hmm. But it is interesting. It's definitely a topic that should not be off limits. Is it something that I would say for certain it's his fault? No. In this whole dynamic, it's everybody's fault.
Right.
But who's the team leader? Who organized the team meeting last night? If we're going to really see just how good Manny Machado's leadership is this year, just in particularly this year, how much his words mean, right? How much weight his words have in this clubhouse for these particular players because of him calling the team meeting last night, him, saying to Kevin and AJ about how this is unacceptable. We're going to see if the team listen, and we're going to see if the team's going to respond to Manny, because he is the captain and he is the guy that is seemingly leading we need to turn this around right now. This is unacceptable charge.
All right, coming up this hour, your chance to win tickets to see Dierks Bentley. That'll be during Trainwreck Radio. That's at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 18th. More info is at Ticketmaster.com. By the way, in the 5 o'clock hour, we've got tickets to give away to go see Godsmack, also North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, coming up later this month. Still ahead. In fact, on the other side of a break, JR Tolver, who is now heading up Aztec Link, which is an NIL collective around San Diego State athletics. He will join us. In addition to that, though, with JR, we need to talk to him about everything that's gone on over the last week. The fact that last Friday we were talking about the possibility of the Pac-12. What does he make of this football team heading into 2023? And then Annie Heilbrunn, who, of course, has covered the Padres throughout the course of her career. She's going to join us coming up at 5 p.m. But JR Tolver, the Aztec for life, he will join us on the other side. Great ticket giveaway coming up this hour. Tickets to see Dierks Bentley. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, we have Dirks Bentley tickets to give away. We'll do that during Trainwreck Radio. Annie Heilbrunn from the UT on the Padres struggle. She'll join us coming up at 5 p.m. But it's always great to connect with JR Tolver, who now is heading up, among other things, Aztec Link, which is a collective centered around supporting San Diego State football. We'll talk about that over the course of the next handful of minutes. If you're looking for info, you can go to azteclink.com. JR, we always appreciate it. We're going to see you Saturday too, right? We're broadcasting from FanFest from 4 to 6. You're going to swing by. What are you looking forward, first of all, to see this weekend from the Aztecs out at Snapdragon Stadium?
Man, I'm really looking forward to watching the energy back in the snap. I think the last year or so, well, since football season has been over, we've seen the multi-use of Snapdragon Stadium, monster truck rallies to concerts to soccer events, and just want to remind everybody that stadium was built for Aztec football, and I'm looking forward to getting back into the building and seeing all the fans and the players and John, you and Jim talking about and focusing on San Diego State football.
JR, over the years that we've talked to you, you've been a huge proponent of like, okay, now is the time, and this is where the Aztecs get to, kind of flex their muscles here with the new stadium and their basketball program, football program, their athletic department. Time to move up in college athletics to a Power 5. And then with what happened this past weekend, I guess last week, with the Pac-12 pretty much dying, and JD Wicker yesterday with us pretty much confirming that Friday morning they were all set to go to, send out a press release saying that they've joined the Pac-12 until it completely collapsed. Just like, what are your thoughts on what's happened over the last week in college realignment and how it's affected San Diego State?
I kind of take a little bit of a different approach at it, because I think if you really look at conference realignment, the goal is to position yourself to be one of the strongest. And, I think what we saw over the last 5 or 6 months is probably now coming to life, is that the Pac-12 had a bunch of issues behind closed doors, and we almost signed up for that. So I think what happened was, it was a surprise to everybody, but I think it was a little bit of a blessing for San Diego State not to get pulled into something that obviously wasn't very sustainable.
JR Tolver with us right now. John and Jim. Again, Aztecs have a fan fest at Snapdragon Stadium Saturday. We're broadcasting live from 4 to 6. By the way, free tickets available. GoAztecs.com. Then they open against Ohio on August 26th. When you look at this thing, JR, from 30,000 feet heading into 2023, this is a tough schedule. Ohio won 10 games last year. They opened with them. They've got Boise State and Air Force, their first 2 conference games. They play UCLA and Oregon State. What do you make of the schedule and how they need to navigate it? Because it feels like they could be a really good team, but we might not necessarily see it in win-loss because of who they're playing.
Yeah, and I think we actually, last year, we went into the season, John, I remember us very vividly sitting out in front of the stadium in front of the bookstore talking about Arizona and saying, number one, we kind of don't know who the San Diego State football team is because they lost a ton of guys to graduation, some really, really good players. And number two, Arizona had, I think, almost 50 new guys on their roster. So we didn't know who Arizona was going to be, and we didn't know who, San Diego State was going to be. And unfortunately, San Diego State got out the gates very slow offensively. The defense, played well and continues to play well, but the offense got out the gate extremely slow and ultimately ended up making a change at that offensive coordinator position and going through 3 or 4 quarterbacks before they finally landed on Jalen Maiden. So I look at last year as kind of one of those outlier years for San Diego State football. Usually going into a season, we know pretty much who the Aztecs are going to be. They're going to be a team that runs the football extremely well. They're going to be a football team that plays a phenomenal defense, and they throw the ball and make timely plays when they have to. I think last year their season, for the first time in about 10 years, really broke the mold. They really couldn't run the football as consistently as we would have liked to see. They didn't really throw the ball well until they made the change with
with Jalen Maiden and Ryan Lindley. But I think towards the end of the season, we started seeing the rebirth of the new Aztec football, right? We started seeing them throw the football. We started seeing some exciting plays, out of the backfield with Keenan Christian. We started seeing some of those things that we hadn't seen over 10 years, but had started, the fans are really, really thirsty for. So, I look at this and I say the last 5 or 6 games of the season, San Diego State played good football. If they hadn't stumbled against Fresno State, they would have been playing for a Mountain West championship. It's pretty easy to kind of forget about that. But that football team largely is back on the football field. They lost some key pieces, but I think offensively they're going to be stronger and better up front at that offensive line position. And defensively, we know if the San Diego State is going to do one thing defensively, as a team, they're going to play great defense.
So for you, JR, what are some areas of this team that concern you or that you're going to be watching closely to see how they perform this upcoming season?
Yeah, oddly enough, I think it's the defensive line. That's been a strength of this football team for many, many years. And obviously, Brady Hoke is one of the best defensive line coaches in the country. But you got a lot of unproven guys out there playing on that defensive line. You got Keyshawn Banks, who's now playing for the Packers, and a couple of years ago, Cam Thomas was drafted in the 3rd round by the Arizona Cardinals. So they've lost a lot of familiar talent on that defensive line over the last couple of years. So I think that's the biggest question mark. That being said, that room is still talented. I was down in San Diego State today, and they were telling me that Daniel Acapulco, who is a Canadian citizen, potentially could be the number 1 player drafted in the Canadian draft. And Aztec fans haven't heard a lot from Daniel Acapulco, but I think this year you'll see a chance when, Keyshawn Banks is now gone and some of the other guys who maybe have overshadowed him, Jonah Tavai and Justice Tavai. You'll see a guy like Daniel Acapulco get an opportunity to make a name for himself. But going into the season, I do believe that the defensive line has the biggest question mark on it right now.
JR Tolver with us right now, the Aztec for Life. Also right now, heading up Aztec Link. So this is a collective. You can go to azteclink.com. We know about name, image, and likeness, the impact it's having right now on college sports. So for our listeners that aren't aware, we've had you on before, JR, and it's still a relatively new venture. It's kind of a twofold question. What type of successes are you seeing right now? Because you're doing a really good job with the site and social media, and I know you guys are making inroads. So what type of successes are you seeing, and how can our listeners support this effort?
Yeah, San Diego is a small business city. I think the stat is, over 80% of businesses in San Diego have 5 or less employees. So this is a city that can really rally behind and benefit from, at least the business community can, from social media influencers. And, we aggregated the total followers of the San Diego State football team. And John, actually, I'm just going to let you guess. How many followers do you think the San Diego State football team has as a whole on Instagram?
Oh, on Instagram's tough. Okay. So are you basically saying, 100 guys roughly, let's say scholarship, 80 something guys? 85
scholarship guys.
Instagram, I think young people have some influence. I'm going to say 85. I'm going to say 500,000.
That's a really good guess, John. It's close to 700,000 followers.
Wow.
The 85 guys that are on that San Diego State football team.
That's impressive.
So what does name, image, likeness allow you to do? If you're a local, pizza joint or burger place, or, you want to promote a new product, you basically have a pick of 85 guys who have a very strong influence here in the San Diego State community. And those guys are, quote unquote, open for business. They're really ready, willing, and able to work for and with brands to promote things that they really believe in, appreciate, and care about. And that's what name, image, and likeness is about. It's about putting those guys in the position to intermediate with small businesses, businesses in general in the San Diego community, and create win-win situations.
All right. So, but real quick, JR, on the way out, azteclink.com, even if you're not a local business, if you just want to support, you can do it like monthly supporting of this collective starts at what? I mean, it's pretty reasonable, right?
It's really reasonable, and we're going to launch a new subscriber level at FanFest tomorrow that we're really excited about. But currently, subscriber levels start at $22 a month. It allows you to get some content and some in-person and live and virtual access, VIP events. There's just a lot of really cool things that come with slipping your credit card down there and supporting Aztec football in the short term and long term.
JR Tolver, we always appreciate it, man. We're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. He's going to join us during our 2-hour coverage of FanFest, 4 to 6. Join us Snapdragon Stadium. We'll be out there. JR Tolver will be out there. We'll talk more about this. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Excited for football, and thanks for doing it today.
Sounds good. See you guys soon.
All right, JR Tolver, again, the Aztec for life. Here's what we need you to do right now. All right, you need to call 844-570-1360 if you want to win a pair of tickets to see Dirk Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 18th.
But by the way, Acapulco is like the greatest last name ever.
It is a very good last name.
It just rolls off the tongue.
It does.
Acapulco.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
I love that.
You do. 844-570-1360 if you want a pair of tickets to see Dirk Bentley August 18th. We'll play Trainwreck Radio. It's trivia. First two callers will be our contestants. Again, the number to call, 844-570-1360. Great giveaway. Dirk Bentley, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Call right now. That's next. p.m. I'm very curious to hear what she has to say about Juan Soto's post-game comments and about just talking to Jim, being on the show with us.
Yeah. The Bacanator.
Oh, that's right. She made fun of you for saying that.
She did.
Last time she was on a couple of weeks ago.
It's okay. I can take it.
Yeah,
Annie.
you can
It's
take
okay.
Oh, absolutely.
I can take it.
Still ahead, and again, we're about to play Trainwreck Radio, but still ahead in the 5 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to see Godsmack, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. It's August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. So again, Annie, in about 10 minutes right now, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Robert and we have Ed. Robert, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with today?
Let's go, John.
All right. I appreciate that, Robert.
All right.
Look forward to working together.
Working together on this game coming up here. Ed, you get me, okay?
Sounds great. I'm ready to roll.
All right, perfect. Brent, what's today's question of the day?
All right, guys, we've obviously been wall-to-wall football today, so we're going to stick with the theme. Can you name any of the 9 players in the NFL last year that had 10 or more rushing touchdowns? So we're looking for the 9 players in the NFL last year that had 10 or more rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
All right. Ed, right? Ed, you're up first. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline, which is me if you want to use it.
How about Dalvin Cook?
Dalvin Cook.
Good
10
guess. A year ago. No.
Bad guess.
No.
Darn it.
Man.
Was he hurt a bit last year?
A little bit, yeah. He was. And then he
Okay.
got cut by the Vikings. Robert, you're up next.
8.
It 8. Okay.
Not bad. It's good here. Robert, you're up next. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Let's go. How about Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
10 rushing touchdowns last year?
I like that. Very good guess.
I wasn't thinking quarterback.
Quarterback for the first guess?
Yeah, I
love
wasn't
it.
thinking that.
Shocker, Jim loves the Eagles pick.
True.
Ed, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Let's do Mahomes.
Patrick
Mahomes
Mahomes
have 10 rushing
You
touchdowns.
don't have to always pick a quarterback.
No. Okay, so what's the score? 1-0 Robert.
1-0 Robert. Robert could win it right
So
here.
he
with
could
the correct
walk off
answer.
right here.
And he still has his lifeline.
Right. Got the
my
lifeline.
goodness. All right, Robert. What do you got, man? You got your lifeline.
Let's go ahead and use that lifeline.
Okay. Good job, John. Here we go, Mr. Football.
Come on, John.
Yeah, come on, John.
Saquon Barkley had to. Saquon Barkley.
You take it?
Let's take it.
All right.
How about that? For the win. Saquon Barkley and Robert.
My lifeline would have been Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
I'm like choking. I'm so
you
emotional
okay?
about it.
You have been wrong.
What? I would have said I was thinking Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs.
Oh, no, I missed him. He's there.
Okay, I was just saying,
I was gonna say a huge year.
Yeah. And then Hunter Henry, too, as well.
Hunter Henry, yes. Definitely Hunter Henry. The tight end for the New England.
No.
Idiot.
Oh, not Hunter Henry.
Train wreck.
Not Hunter Henry.
Derek
Henry.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Is
Hunter
Derek,
Hurst Helmsley.
is Derek Henry on the
Triple
list?
H.
Is Derek Henry on the list?
The Rock.
Yes. he's
Okay,
third.
well, who's on this list other than Hunter Henry?
Hunter Henry.
Number 1, believe it or not, was Jamal Williams.
That's right.
He
Wow.
had 17
Yes.
rushing
Yes.
touchdowns last year for the Lions.
He was like the greatest 9th round pick in fantasy
Right.
football ever.
Then it was Austin Eckler had 13.
Sure.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry had 13. Jalen Hurts had 13. Nick Chubb, he had 12. Zeke Elliott had 12. Josh Jacobs had 12. And then Miles Sanders, he had 11. Yeah.
From
Another
the
Eagles, too.
I know.
How many?
And then Saquon had 10.
Okay,
He was last on the list.
Patrick Mahomes had 9, I'm assuming, and Hunter Henry probably also had 9 rushing touchdowns yesterday or last year. Mahomes is not Mr. Rushing Touchdown, is he? I mean, he might have had a handful just because they score so often. But no, he was not on the list. All right. Well, Robert won. Congratulations, Robert. Here's what you have won, by the way. You've got a pair of tickets to see Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Patrick Mahomes had 4 rushing touchdowns Jim, last year. 4. Pretty close. All right. Here's what we're going to do. On the other side, hour 3 of John and Jim. Annie Heilbrunn from the UT. on the Padres struggles. Is there any hope left or not? We'll ask Annie. She's going to join us in 5 or 6 minutes. Also, Jim's back page is still ahead. And again, next hour, your chance to win tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Hour 3, John and Jim next. All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 3 of John and Jim this hour. Your chance to win tickets to see Godsmack. North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. We've spent a lot of today, as we typically do, on the Padres, and now it has become a 4-game losing streak. And some of the comments that Juan Soto had last night, this post-game players-only clubhouse meeting, and it's always good to connect with Annie Heilbrunn, who's back with us here on John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Annie, we always appreciate your time. When you hear someone like Juan Soto say, like his words, like we've literally quit, and what is your reaction when you hear something like that? And thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always happy to be on with you. This is a little bit of a tough one because I know with Juan, I like to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt sometimes because he obviously English isn't his first language, although what he said had a lot of clarity to it, right? It's not like there was a whole lot of guesswork in there, I guess. But sometimes I feel like after a game, like guys can be pretty emotional and they can say things that sometimes maybe they interpret in their head one way, but when they say it out loud, it's, comes out a completely different way. So I think that, like, because of the fact, right, he said literally a few times and he doubled down on it. I saw all that. But I think kind of what maybe he's getting at more is like they're better, they're quitting. I don't think that he's saying like we've quit on the season or we've quit on everybody or whatever. But I think they get into this mentality where they just get so frustrated that they don't like rally back. Like they don't have this like ability this season that we've seen to shelve their own frustrations or I guess feeling that things are just going to go downhill from this point on, because I believe that they're coming into the game like thinking like, okay, this is a guy making his major league debut. We should be able to get some hits off this guy, score some runs, or whatever. And then as soon as they get hit in the mouth, they have a really hard time like continuing to grind through those at bats and I guess have that belief that they can come back from it. And it just seems to be a collective thing that's sort of permeating through that lineup. And so I don't think now I could be wrong and he could mean it as absolutely literally as he said it,
right.
Which was very literal.
Yeah.
But either way, it doesn't sound good, right? Either way, it's not what you hope to hear, and it's not a good indictment either way, because you need that gene in your clubhouse of being able to fight back. And for whatever reason this year, maybe just the fact that they've continued to say that it's going to happen, maybe that they've convinced themselves it was going to happen and it just hasn't happened. There has been some sort of like give up that maybe they're not even, I give them props for saying it because maybe they're not even like acknowledging it within themselves, some of them,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was definitely a little, it probably opened up everyone's eyes, that quote, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely opened up a lot of people's eyes. You're in that clubhouse all the time, Annie. And for you, has something felt off with this team this year? Like the vibe of this team, has it just felt like something's not right here? I'm not saying like to put an actual pinpoint on what's wrong with this team, because I feel like a lot of people don't even really know, but just the watching this team play and the mannerisms and the, what you see in the dugout at times, and then the clubhouse, like, does it feel like, yeah, there's something off with this team this season?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think it brings up the whole chicken or the egg thing. It's like, is there something off with this team because they're losing so much?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of, losing just permeates, it just, everything starts rolling downhill throughout the entire organization. It's like when you're in a relationship and you start to not like the other person, you start to find, I'm sure, John can tell you about this, Jim, but you start to find all the things wrong with them that maybe you used to like before, right? But you start to just kind of, in your mind, you're frustrated, you're in this place or whatever. And I think that sort of same thing happens inside of a clubhouse, because really a clubhouse or a locker room or any of that, it's just like a petri dish of society. There's a lot of different personalities. I mean, yeah, they're all great athletes and they make a lot of money, but they're not all the same. They don't all respond the same way to things. They don't all that sort of thing. And a lot of times winning can cover any deficiencies. Like the deficiencies that you might see at the beginning of the season are still there. But if they're winning, it just covers them up and people don't really pay attention to them. But if they're losing, it exposes them in a way that, it starts to everything. You start to look at stuff and go, well, does this mean this? And does that mean that? And it definitely could mean that, or it's just like the same deficiencies that were there all along that like would still be there if they were winning, but you just don't notice them as much. And so it's hard to say. I mean, I do think that there is something to look at internally, because this has happened now. This is not really that new of a thing. I mean, over the course of the last, decade or whatever, they've tried many things, whether it was having, a star-laden roster. I think that was 2015 or whatever, that didn't work. Sort of turning more towards the farm system, but not really having that be your future. Obviously that was used to trade off some really key pieces that really got you some really great players. But there is something to, I guess, like the long-term strategy that we're just not seeing, that maybe you see in other clubs that they're able to do, and it just works for them. And, they tweak it here and there, but we're really having a hard time seeing like the nucleus of this and how it's all supposed to play out and everything. And I do think that there is something to like the feeling that you got all these great players, and they are great players. Like the people that they signed do have a history of being great. And I don't think that it's that they don't like each other. I don't think that you have a thing where you have something like in 2015 or whatever, but I do think that you have something where they just haven't quite learned how to work together yet because you have a lot of superstars. You have a lot of guys that are used to doing things their way. You have a lot of guys in there that have preferences, shall I say, and their preferences, they've made their preferences known, whether that's where they like to hit in the lineup or what, inning they want to come in or whatever, and they're not all like that. But there are probably more than maybe you would see in other clubhouses. And I think that has created maybe a little bit, of a harder time to kind of figure out how all the pieces fit together. And then I think it's also, they've had a harder time. Like these are guys who are used to being, the top of their craft, doing things their way. And I don't think it's that they don't like each other as much as like they just haven't figured out their roles with each other yet. And like, you don't really know who's supposed to, I guess, pick up and, motivate or, whatever. I don't know, I'm kind of, I'm theorizing here, but it just doesn't, just because you have a lot of great players doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to fit and work. And maybe it will next year. I don't know, like maybe you have to go through a period like this, but they're going to have to figure it out because these guys are signed to long contracts.
Yeah.
You got to figure out like your key, your pieces that you're missing, your guys that you need to fill in the gaps with, and just how it's all going to work.
Annie Heilbrunn is with us right now from the UT. Yeah, I think you're 100% spot on. And then you wonder about someone like what's the impact of not having Joe Musgrove? We know the impact on field. It's significant. And the fact that he's not playing right now because he's not healthy, that can't be good for a clubhouse either. Here's my question, Annie. Is it even worth rushing him back when you know what he means to this franchise moving forward? They haven't shown us anything to believe that they're about to make a run. Is it worth doing everything in your power to get him here in the middle of September when you know that his future is way more important than 2 or 3 starts at the end of this year?
Correct. No, I don't think you rush him back at all. I think that you have to save Joe Musgrove from himself. I mean, we just read in Kevin's newsletter this morning in the UT, like he's already back to the hyperbaric chambers, try to see at the recovery. And Joe will give you everything he has. I mean, Joe is a blue collar, I'm going to give you everything I have, and I'm going to try to lift up my teammates along the way. And he's always been, even when he was working with Fernando in the off season, like he's not one to go preach to guys, but he is one to help them if they come to him or to point things out if he sees something collectively. And it's really hard for a pitcher to really have the respect and kind of admiration of the position players as well. I wouldn't say really hard, but it's more unusual, right? But he does, and so you have that regardless. And I don't think that, just him being injured, I don't think he loses his voice. Clearly they still see how hard he's working and things like that. but you have to save Joe from himself, because he's going to try everything he can to get back on this field. And I think he realizes the severity of, the risk he would take if he pushes it too fast. That the shoulder is from everything I've been told since I was asking around about this, since his diagnosis or whatever came out, former pitchers and stuff, like the elbow was more straightforward, but the shoulder is not. The shoulder is kind of a, no man's land a little bit. Like, you have to be very careful with how you approach the shoulder. And so I think he knows that. He's got a lot of good people around him, I'm sure, that are advising him. And he's one that's going to always look at what he's doing and see what he can do better, like in terms of, like, is there an off-season thing that I'm doing that's making this worse? Is there something I could do that's making it better, or that sort of thing? I'm sure he is hopeful that after 3 weeks, it's going to, greatly improve, and it's going to show signs that he can come back. But I personally don't. I think if you're risking like a long-term, thing that you could avoid if you don't rush him back too fast, like you avoid that at all costs, just for the sake of him too. Like, you want to protect your players, and you want to make sure that they're better for the long term. Now, if he gets that MRI back and the inflammation's gone, and right now they're in the thick of it, and they're making that postseason push, like, I don't know, I guess maybe then you got to go from there. But it definitely seems risky at this point.
No, I definitely agree with you. When I saw Kevin report this morning, mid-September potentially, I'm like, you gotta think about the future here. You can't think about this season, which could be completely lost by the middle of September. Annie, I wanted to finish off on a high note, because it feels like it's just a bunch of low notes that this Padres team has gone through this year. Ha-Seong Kim has proven to be not just one of the best players like on the team, but like he's proven to be one of the most valuable players in baseball with his WAR. The guy's going to have potentially 40 stolen bases this year with an OPS in the mid to high 800s, hitting almost 300 this year. I mean, you got to at least, whoever the GM is at the end of the season, try to make sure you lock him up for the future, right?
Yeah. I mean, this guy's a baller.
Yeah.
He might be, and you guys can disagree, he might be their MVP this year. Like,
I would agree.
I'm trying to think, right? Okay, you would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think what's so cool about Ha-Seong Kim too is, like, he's worked every season to improve himself. And he works, in the off seasons the same way. And, like, you can really tell, like, all the work that he's put in to get to this point. It's not like he just, a switch just flipped. It's like, this is like the cumulative work that he's done since he got into the league, and since he got his butt kicked with the velocity that he was seeing in the majors versus what he was seeing in Korea, and so he has worked. I mean, this guy has, like, diligently, like, fell on his face, and gotten back up. And so, to try to catch up to the velocity and just kind of become a better hitter, and also just learn from the guys around him. And it's just so, when I think about this, like, it's so hard to do when you are from another country, you don't speak the language. Like, you've got to really ingrain yourself to these players, and to their credit, to his teammates, like, they have opened their arms very wide to him. And he's also, given them, like, the respect and, learning from them and all that stuff that kind of a good teammate would do, and a guy trying to get better in the majors would do. But, like, I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. Like, I think it's a safe bet to look at Ha-Seong Kim and go, okay, he's not going to, like, stop trying to improve himself. Like, I think it's really, like, part of his characteristics, to want to get better and to want to become, one of the key players for this team, but also in the league. Like, I don't think he's, like, I think his goals are very, very high, and so now you just start to see him, like, how comfortable he is, and, like, how he's kind of proven to himself that he can do it, and that he's got some consistency in this league. And, like, the WAR, it's like, he's one of the best. I think you guys have the numbers, right? Like, he's one of the best in all the league, right? Like, it's not just, like, on the Padres.
Ahead of Acuna and only behind Shohei.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal. That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
like,
crazy.
It's like, we talk so much, and rightfully so, about a lot of these other players and the big four, but really, like, Ha-Seong Kim has shown, like, you better extend that to, like, the big five or whatever, the big one right now. I don't know. But he's, even in a leadoff spot too, he's really shown that he will do kind of what's necessary in that position too. So, and the defense obviously speaks for itself, but that's also at a new position this year, so Yes, I think that is a safe bet. I don't know if you give him like 10 years, like, these other ones, but you certainly reward him for the time put in. And I definitely don't think you want to let him get away. That's for sure.
Annie Heilbrunn from the UT, who I don't think you'd quit on this show if you had to work with Jim every day. Would you? Would you literally quit?
I would never quit on you guys.
Okay.
No,
Thank you, Annie.
I'm going to stay with you guys. We're going to grind it out.
John says all the time, though, that he quits on most shows. So
I quit on most shows?
I don't think that's me, actually.
We're in an arranged marriage, by the way.
We
Annie,
are.
To your point. Our relationship has been bad since day one.
You guys have the whole bickering thing down, but then you make up, you go out, go to Vegas together.
Yes.
We're good.
We're the old married couple.
Yes, we do bicker. Yeah. Annie, thank you. We always appreciate it. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for doing it.
Always appreciate being on, guys. Thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks, Annie.
Annie Heilbrunn from the UT. By the way, coming up at 5:30, your chance to win tickets to see Godsmack, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. I'm with her on her Soto take. Listen, it sounds awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds terrible. You forget they do this 162 times. The media comes in every night. He was clearly frustrated. They just had a 20-minute meeting. It's not his first language, not to excuse what he said.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even though he said we've literally quit, I don't think he meant it. I really don't. Mm-hmm. But it's not encouraging when even that is in your mentality.
Yeah.
That's something that's being discussed. I think they can, it's cliche, I think they can turn the page on what happened last night, but the only problem is what are they turning the page to? They're 55-60. So they've gone through this before and they never get it going for whatever reason.
And I agree. I don't think they go into games thinking we're
going to lose.
What are we doing afterwards? Hey, dinner time?
Right. Or if we go down and run, the game's over. I don't think they really think that, but they might fear it. Man, we're down and we never come back.
But why the quote to me, and you could go that route, but why I can't fully go that route is because he used it in a plural term. Now, again, it's a second language. It might have been not plural to him, but I mean, we've watched this team for 115 games this year. We know that they have quit multiple times this season in games. We know that they've just laid down. I mean, you look at their record. The record shows that they've done that. We have eyes. We see it. It doesn't pass the eye test. So to me, this isn't just a one-off. If it was a one-off, if it was this team this year fought and battled and they were around 500, but they at least showed some fight. If it was different, and then Juan came out and said, "Hey, we gave up tonight. We completely gave up, and that was unacceptable." It would still be hard to fathom, and we would still talk about it and rip them, but it's, to me, feels like the whole season boils down to this one quote, which is the 2023 Padres are all talk, and in the end, they couldn't back it up, so they gave up.
I'll be honest, if you would have told me the day they traded for Juan Soto, I mean, they made the National League Championship Series last year, which is really good. People were very critical of Soto's performance last year. I think there were some postseason moments.
There were.
But then 55-60, a huge question mark hanging over the offseason. Is he going to be back after 2024? Will they attempt to extend him before 2024? What's that even going to be look like? I mean, it's just a huge question mark. His whole tenure here is going to be defined by I don't know. I mean, there's the NLCS, but it feels like people are just disappointed. Since the trade, the day of the trade, we thought anything was possible. And here we are a year and a week later. That's all it's been. A year and a week later, we're left with so many unanswered questions.
Also, too, if you don't like your colleagues, it's, I mean, you can get all the money in the world, but do you want to be miserable? I don't
know if that's the case, though. I mean,
if
you think he doesn't,
I'm not saying he doesn't like his teammates. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, and the vibe, we talked with Annie there, something's off, right? She mentioned not agendas, but just preferences. Players have certain preferences.
They want to hit third. They don't want to pitch eighth innings.
Yeah. I only want to pitch 5 innings. Right. The preferences thing to me is interesting. Because that can spiral into the quotes from Joe Musgrove about egos, right? dude, really? You're not going to give us another extra out here? We need you. Hey, bro, like, are you really going to complain about hitting 5th in the lineup instead of 2nd? Like, are you really not going to go out there and give a 6th inning instead of just always going 5, right? Are you going to complain because you're hitting 2nd instead of 3rd?
Right.
Like, give me a
like in
break.
the grand scheme, yeah. Like this,
give me a break.
Yeah. Like Soto started the quote. The part that nobody's talking about as much because everyone's saying, "Hey, they quit." Listen to what Juan Soto said, but he started the quote by saying, "We've got to play as a team." And remember, Joe Musgrove, like a week ago, was like front of jersey, not back, and this speaks to the preference point that Annie just made. And I just from day one, it goes back to the same thing. They've never really fully looked like a team, and you can't put your finger on it, and that's subjective to say. But at the end of the season, that's what we're going to say. Like, they were never cohesive. They were never a unit. They were never a team. And if you sense it when you watch it, and the more you watch it, the more it becomes realistic and real.
The 2023 Padres, I think, will be remembered as a collection of talent that never became a team and severely underachieved.
It's just underachieved. And they're not the first team to underachieve. They're not even the most underachieving team in baseball this year. They're there with other teams like the Mets
and
the Cardinals.
And now the Mets, I think you could already give them the award for most disappointing team.
Yeah, because they literally punted on the season.
They punted. The trade deadline, Scherzer, Verlander, bye-bye.
Yep.
The Padres at least said we're going to go for it, and then as of right now, they're still failing. I like I said during the fusion today, I thought, I know David J gives me crap for it, but I thought that if they traded Snell or Hader or one or the other, they were going to quit. That this team was going to say, "You don't believe in us? Oh, okay, fine, we're done." That's what I thought. And then it ended up being they actually tried at the deadline and kept them, and they still at this point are like, yeah, actually, okay, no.
But that goes back to the point that we both made at times in July, which is, do they deserve this second lease on life? Do they deserve AJ Preller and Peter Seidler adding? Or is it more like, hey, listen, we've seen it for 100 games, and truth be told, sure, if they get rid of Snell, maybe it's not going to go well, but it's not going well either way. All right, we'll get to some calls on the other side. If you're on the phone, you can stay where you are. It has been exhausting. Also on the other side, we are going to give away tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. What do you guys think? Is there any hope in 2023 or not? Or do you take Juan Soto literally when he says, literally, we've quit?
I want someone to call in right now, 844-570-1360, that still believes this team is going to make the postseason. And I want to know why you believe that.
And I don't want it to be an act.
No.
844-570-1360, 844-570-1360. Tickets we'll give away coming up next. Jim's back page as well. Stay with us. It's John and Jim. Do that at some point between now and the next 10 minutes. That show will be at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. We asked for a listener that has hope in the Padres 2023 season. 115 games in, 55-60. Ryan thankfully called in. Ryan, you're on with John and Jim, and thanks for calling in. What's on your mind here?
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Jim. Long time listener, first time caller.
Thanks,
man.
Really do believe. I got hope. I got faith. The Padres are going to make it. We're 4.5 games back in the wild card, and lots of games left still. Best pitching in all of Major League Baseball. Bats will come active. It all matters just in what happens in August and September.
All right.
All right. So I
love the optimism.
Yeah, an optimist. There's time. I believe in the pitching. Bats will come around.
There's still time left.
Four
Only
and a half
4.5
games.
games.
Yes.
Could be
Okay.
made up in like 2 weeks and maybe less than that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, that's the other side of the conversation we haven't discussed as much.
We haven't. No, it's still there. We have prefaced by saying 4.5 games, and you talked about at the start of the show, not a lot. It's not like 7 or 8 with 47 to go.
Right.
They were as close as what, 2.5 out or 2 out
I
as recently
don't know
as
if
last
it's
week.
2.5 or 3.
It was in the 2s. I think it was
Maybe
2.5
during a game, but then they lost and it dropped down to 3.
Right. So there, at one point, if you looked at the standings,
It was 2.5.
It was 2.5.
Yeah, right.
So
So it's 4.5.
Right now, it's 4.5. So by the end of this weekend, maybe they're
2.5.
2.5. I don't know. Okay. So there you go. Now, the other side of the coin
is Dave.
All
right. So 844-570-1360. I don't think Dave is going to be as kind.
I don't think so.
Let's go to
either.
Dave here, Brent. Dave, you're on with John and Jim, and thanks for calling in.
Well, I've got Charlie Brown in the backyard right now in the pumpkin patch. And we're waiting for the great pumpkin. So, you can ignore, I guess, the fact that Joe Musgrove's going to be gone, most likely for the season. This is a serious injury.
Mm-hmm.
You can ignore the fact that the back end of your bullpen has been imploding now for the last several games. You can ignore the fact that they can't win when everybody else loses. So they're going to have to, they're 4.5 games out. They could back into this thing provided everybody in front of them collapses. So, there's always mathematical ways into this thing. Look, this season was lost at the beginning when you had a general manager that decided he was going to bring somebody in here without any regard for the dugout, how these guys would fit together, how you basically disheveled your infield, how you brought in 2 DHs that were a waste of time. You never addressed center field. You forgot first base, and you didn't address catcher until it was way too late in the season. So this is why this team has reacted like they are. They are weak mentally. You know that. You've said it. They can't come back. Every time they get smacked in the face, Annie brought it up, they fold. And so this is a team that is constructed on one thing, finesse. And they don't have the baseball acumen or the baseball guts or character to do any more than they are right now. They cannot play with a target on their back. And that's what's killed them since day one.
Dave, good call. We appreciate it. That would be the opposite sentiment than Ryan, which is basically they were doomed to fail because what the front office did in the offseason was not put together a team that was built for 162.
Or a cohesive team, or a team that, egos meshed, even though it is hard to say that, personalities won't mesh when you literally haven't seen it. Like, you can't say, oh yeah, these guys won't get along when they've never not shown they could get along with other people, or I don't know.
It's twofold. It's the clubhouse dynamic with the alphas, coupled with, to Dave's point, one thing that has been evident since day one is they just fold. Like, they go down by a run. I think they've one comeback win this year when trailing by more than 1 run after 5 innings. They have one.
And you know when it was? Or
like
no,
3 days ago.
Yeah, it was against the Dodgers last Friday night.
Exactly.
That's why I was like, or no, Saturday night, excuse me.
Because they were down 3-1 in that game.
Yeah, in the 8th inning. And they scored 7 or 8 runs. And you're like,
but that's one time after the 5th inning, they've overcome a deficit larger than 1 run. That's a telltale sign that you're heading to Cancun, not wild card weekend.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
844-570-1360. Let's go to Trevor. Trevor on line 5. You're on with John and Jim, and thanks for calling.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say I'm kind of tired of people continuously saying, hey, the bats are going to come around, the offense is going to be there. And the reality is, it's just not who this team is. I'd like to see us kind of grind out some more wins. And I mean, the bats haven't been there all year. Maybe a little stretch, right? Like, why not have Melvin take control of this thing, start to manufacture runs, and say, hey, we're going to grind it out to the postseason, and we're going to be grinders. We're not going to be the big bats hitting grand slams. Just not who we are.
Thanks for the call, Trevor. And I agree with you, but here's the thing, like, Melvin can only do so much. Melvin can call for hit and runs, and he by the way, have you noticed how much this team runs now since a couple months ago?
Yeah.
They run a lot
more. Yeah.
Hassan Kim's going to have 40 stolen bases this year, potentially. So they run a lot. So Melvin's trying, but you can't say to somebody, hey, I need you to grind more and expect them to like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, it's up to the players to do that. It's up to the guys in that dugout, in the lineup, to make a conscious decision. Like, I'm going to go up to my bat right now, and I'm getting on base any way possible. I don't care how it happens. I'm getting on base. Or when there's a runner at second and there's less than 2 outs, or there's, I'm
right,
moving.
You're going to move runners if there's nobody on. There's a guy at second. You're going to get someone in from third with less than
like
2 outs.
I am like, the mindset has been lacking with this team for the little things, and that should not happen. And it is.
Okay, to that point, and to the caller's point, and I'm just going to say it, and it's probably not true. It doesn't matter. They are the worst situational hitting team in baseball. I said it. I don't care if the facts support it. I've watched. There can't be a worse situational hitting team. And what do I mean by that? Let me add it all up.
The
Runners in scoring position, bases loaded, nobody out, second and third, nobody out, second and third, 1 out. Okay? Like, add that all up. It was all right in front of us in that last extra innings loss, their 10th, when they loaded the bases with nobody out and did not score. Okay, it encapsulates everything in the season. I don't care what the numbers say. I'm saying it, therefore it's accurate. They are the worst situational hitting team you've ever seen. So, to Trevor's point, where they should be grinding is in those spots, and grinding is not even the right word. They just got to go up there with a plan. They have to execute with runners at third and less than 2 outs, and they've failed consistently all year long.
You know what they have to do, John?
Score runs.
Battle.
They just got to do, because when you look at it, like, how about if I told you this?
Battle.
14th in OPS in baseball.
Not the worst.
6th in ERA. It should add up to a team that's 500 or above.
We should be right now on August 10th talking about, like, okay, this series is huge this weekend because you're a couple games behind the Dodgers, or maybe a couple games ahead of the Dodgers and you got to keep pace. Or like, how did the trade deadline acquisitions, how are they going to help you here? I mean, yeah, that's still a conversation, but the longer this goes on, it doesn't matter anymore. And then talking about, like, Blake Snell's season, he could potentially win a Cy Young if he continues up with this pace. Has the best ERA in baseball, and hey, is Juan Soto vying for an MVP? Is Fernando Tatis Jr., like, is Manny Machado? No, we're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about that at all. It's complete opposite, and it sucks because the fan base has put so much and invested so much into this season, particularly, that it's just a drain on everybody's morale every single day if you live and die with every single game. Like, I know Carlos, who watches the wrap-up show, texts me all the time. Like, I feel so bad for Carlos because he literally wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I'm sure a lot of Padres fans do the same.
Of course.
And it's like every day you're watching this team, and it just ruins your mood.
Unfortunately, I mean, that's been it's just so much unfulfilled promise. And now, can they somehow pick themselves off the mat? The question we've asked each other for 4 months, and to this point, they have not done it. They still have time to do it. Doesn't mean they will do it.
And it's not like every time your team loses, you feel this way. If the team wasn't good, you'd be looking at other things like, oh, Ha-Seong Kim's had a great year. You would focus on other things other than like the main thing, which is like they suck, if there was no expectations. But there is with this team. That's what makes it different.
Yeah, I can't listen. I go back to what we said in the first hour of the show. Nelson Cruz in May was asked what's wrong with the team, and he's like, I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know.
He's like, yo, Jake, what's wrong with this team?
I don't know. Hey, Xander, what's wrong with this team? I don't know. Hey, Josh, You got any answers? Nope, got no answers. Hey, Blake, you know what the problem is? What?
All right, call right now if you want tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. Caller 5, they are yours. 844-570-1360. We have a pair of tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Caller 5, they're yours. 844-570-1360. We'll get to Jim's back page next. Didn't think I'd go a whole day.
Oh, here we go.
ESPN.com, Mountain West Moles' next move as ACC decides on Cal and Stanford. Listen to this quote. This was just published.
Okay.
This is actually a really interesting quote. In the article, it says, multiple sources expressed skepticism this week that either Cal or Stanford would be willing to become full-fledged members of the Mountain West, citing the discrepancies in academic standards. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But then this quote is pretty fascinating. The irony is that line of thinking contributed to where they are at now. This idea that nobody else could come into the Pac-12 other than this group of schools.
Right.
We'd never consider Houston. Oh, even, we were not going to go get TCU. Oh, Boise, no way. San Diego State, maybe. If not, it's like it's always been this like pedestal conference. And automatically, like when you don't have that pedestal, well, what are you going to do? It's like when you have to fight for survival, they weren't really willing to do it. So now what? For Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State. And what if they have no other options? Could the Mountain West be a possibility for Stanford and Cal? Find out next. Jim's over it now. Jim's completely over it.
Like, it doesn't feel like anything's imminent anymore. And
dude, this is all the Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State. They need homes for 2024.
Right. That is something that will definitely have to be watched, and there's something there that has to be done.
Right.
But I mean, it's the news that was dropped. It was the big one, and we move
Great
on.
breakdown. Back page.
Shut up. Breakdown, idiot. All right, John. So let's start with Taco Bell, okay?
Yeah.
So Taco Bell, right down the street from us, off Arrow Drive, they announced a free Doritos Locos taco every Tuesday for a month.
Not just ours, just Taco Bell in general, right?
Taco Bell in general. Every Tuesday, starting August 15th through September 5th, taco lovers can enjoy one freebie while supplies last. Taco Tuesday belongs to all who make, sell, eat, and celebrate tacos. This is the press release.
Mm-hmm.
And this free-for-all will not only thank taco fans who supported the cause, but will also spotlight local restaurants and vendors who can now embrace Taco Tuesday without fear of legal action.
I think it's finally like, let's just embrace it. How did you embrace it? Oh, we took this small mom and pop taco shop
and got it back.
Stole
Right.
it.
And we got it back.
Legal action and took it from them.
So when we say free without purchase, you can just go in Tuesday and you can get your free taco and walk out the door.
It looks like it. They don't say in this release here that there needs to be like
a drink or a
purchase
separate
or
item. Okay.
It's probably, I'm sure they have like a limit for a day. Like,
you can't just keep walking in the door.
Oh, so I can't hit up every Taco Bell in San Diego.
Well, you
County.
probably could. You could definitely do
what
that.
I mean for like, okay, this certain Taco Bell has only 500 tacos to give away.
Okay.
Yeah,
so once you go in,
that's
like, hey,
true.
we've given away all the free tacos.
10,000. Yeah.
Yeah. McDonald's. This is definitely fast food.
Seems like it.
Back page.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It's giving its fans a chance to eat like their favorite characters, while its newest meal offering that includes items featured on TV shows and movies throughout the years, known as the as featured in meal items. Okay. Will be food was featured in TV shows and movies like Seinfeld, I'm Not Rappaport, and Coming to America. The as featured in meal will include a choice of 10-piece chicken McNuggets, quarter pounders with cheese, or Big Mac sandwich, along with medium famous fries, medium soft drink, and a newly branded sweet and sour sauce. So basically, it's just like a basic McDonald's meal, but they
were featured in
we're
movies.
not getting like retro packaging or anything.
That would be
in it.
really cool. Branding, logos.
Yeah, if I get the Coming to America meal, it's going to be in the same wrapper from
the 80s or the 90s. Yeah,
that movie came out.
It
Otherwise,
doesn't say.
what's the difference?
There's
between,
no difference.
Yeah, the quarter pounder meal I could have got 2 weeks ago
I know.
compared to the movie themed one thing
All right.
now.
This will be worldwide on August 14th. Also, Brent, you mentioned it to me yesterday, the special sweet and sour sauce, or the special sauce that was announced here is in the upcoming Loki series on Disney Plus, because one of the characters works at an old McDonald's.
What's Loki?
Loki.
That's what I said.
He said low key. Like low key, that's stupid.
What is it?
It's MCU, John.
Loki and Thor. He's a bad guy.
I don't know.
Didn't you take Greek mythology in school, John?
I took Latin for 2 years.
They're both equally as
Yeah.
useless.
True. It's true. I was told it would help my SATs. It didn't.
Also,
None of the SAT was in Latin.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
finally, Sonic the Hedgehog Cafe.
Oh, yeah. Cafe. Yes.
That we didn't go to.
Right. But it's still open.
We still got 10 days for John not to go. So
Guess what, Brent? We have 21 days.
They extended it.
They
All right.
extended it.
So tell me more about it again.
It's a Sonic the Hedgehog pop-up themed restaurant that will serve you items that are Sonic Hedgehog themed, like a
Not like a hedgehog, though.
No, not a literal one.
You can't. You're not, so what's
when you
theme?
go to Panda Express,
They don't
John, you're
give you
not eating
pandas.
literal pandas.
Right.
like you can get refreshments there, like the Blue Blur, which is a blueberry slushy. You can get the Flying Fox, the Team Dark milkshake. You can also get the Sonic's classic chili dog.
We got to go to this.
Or the Knuckles sandwich, which is a crispy fried chicken sandwich based off of Knuckles, the character. So yeah, it's open until August 31st now. They have extended it by 11 days. So if you're wondering, if you're like, oh, we better get there this
I
weekend.
think we should go.
August 31st now instead of August 20th. You got extra 11
Let's
days.
do it one day after a show, right? Or before a show, or whenever, during a show.
It's all
For
on
I
you,
care.
man.
Let's just do it. All right. If you missed anything today, you can go to sportssd.com. You can go to YouTube. You can go to TuneIn Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio app. I think I'm missing something in there as well. iTunes. If you're listening to us on the podcast, please leave a review as well. Follow us on social media at John and Jim, JONANDJIM. We're back tomorrow from Fair Play in North Park. Please join us 3 to 6. We'll get you ready for Padres and Diamondbacks. Fair Play in North Park. We would love to see you there. Until then, for Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it right here. It's the all-new San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.